All was not well in the house of Mario. Nintendo's latest home video game console, the GameCube, failed to find the same kind of dominance the company had enjoyed in the 80s and early 90s. While the company's name was once synonymous with video games, Nintendo's missteps and inability to change with the times had left it with a battered reputation. It was seen as out of touch and geared only towards Pokemon-loving kids. Gamers who consider themselves serious or hardcore turned their noses up at Nintendo's offering, and the result was a severely reduced market share. Their one-time rival Sega left the console business altogether to focus on software, a business shift many critics thought Nintendo should follow. But reinvention was a part of Nintendo's DNA. Though it may have had a tin ear when it came to listening to fans, Nintendo always heard the beat of its own drummer loud and clear. Soon, the company would outsell its competition and find its way back into the good graces and living rooms of gamers the world over. Hiroshi Yamauchi had been the president of Nintendo since 1949, molding and shaping the company for more than half a century. Under Yamauchi's leadership, Nintendo grew from a regionally successful playing card company into a global entertainment powerhouse. But shortly after the GameCube's 2001 launch, Yamauchi knew it was time to step down. His son-in-law, Minoru Arakawa, retired as president of Nintendo of America in 2002. Though many thought Arakawa would succeed his father-in-law, it seemed the former Nintendo of America president was happy to leave the industry altogether after 22 years. These two men shaped Nintendo's two-decade transformation, and whoever followed would have their work cut out for them. By 2002, the GameCube was running third in the latest console war, beaten in worldwide sales by Sony's PlayStation 2 and Microsoft's first video game effort, the Xbox. For the vacant seat at the top of Nintendo of America, Yamauchi appointed Tatsumi Kimishima, the former head of the company's Pokemon division, though Tatsumi would be supplanted by Reggie Fils-Aimé a mere 4 years later. For his own replacement, Yamauchi appointed Satoru Iwata, the president of Nintendo's second-party developer, HAL Laboratories. Since acquiring a majority stake in the studio, Nintendo enjoyed a healthy relationship with HAL, which was responsible for some of Nintendo's biggest franchise successes. Kirby, Earthbound, and Super Smash Bros. All came from HAL Laboratories and proved to be worthy additions to Nintendo's lineup. In 2000, Yamauchi brought Iwata over from HAL to become Nintendo's head of corporate planning. Unbeknownst to Iwata, Yamauchi had hired him to see if he could be a worthy successor. In 2002, after stepping down as president, but staying on as chairman of Nintendo's board of directors, Yamauchi kept a close watch on Iwata to see if he was right. Iwata's first true test came in November 2004. The company was rolling out a new twist on an old favorite, the handheld DS console. Standing for dual screen, the DS took its design cues from a popular iteration of Gunpei Yokoi's old Game & Watch LCD toys, which featured two screens packaged in a hinged clamshell design. But instead of simply giving players a case of double vision, the DS's bottom half was actually a touchscreen. This opened the door for developers to create all new ways to interact with games, an innovation devised by Yamauchi before his exit. The DS included a Wi-Fi adapter, meaning that gamers could play online and even browse the web at Wi-Fi hotspots. After years of flirting with online connectivity with the original Famicom, the SNES's Japan-only Satellaview, and the limited GameCube broadband adapter, Nintendo finally went all in. The DS's solid core of features and its new wave of casual-minded games, like Shigeru Miyamoto's smash hit Nintendogs, helped make the DS a tremendous success among longtime gamers, businessmen with time to kill, and, most significantly, girls and women. It proved to be a true successor to the Game Boy brand's legacy. Despite competition from Sony's handheld 2005's PSP, the DS has sold over 152 million units worldwide to date. But dominating the handheld market was simply Nintendo maintaining the status quo. After all, the Game Boy managed to last for over 12 years with barely a threat to its place in gamers' pockets. The true battle for video game supremacy was being waged at home. In the fall of 2005, Microsoft launched its second console, the Xbox 360, selling out initial shipments due to overwhelming consumer demand. Sony, which had gotten a year's head start with the PlayStation 2 to dominating effect, was planning to release the PlayStation 3 in November 2006. Meanwhile, Nintendo would be launching its own new console, codenamed the Revolution, a few days after that. History, it seemed, would be repeating itself. And even worse, as gamers and journalists learned more details about the console, its simple remote, its gimmicky motion controls, and its baffling new name, the Wii, the reaction wasn't revolution, but confusion. But as the Wii's release date drew near, excitement about Nintendo's new console began to grow among the gaming media. The system promised a brand new way to play video games, a claim Nintendo had already fulfilled once with the DS and its unique touchscreen. While Microsoft and Sony pushed the technological envelope in terms of audio-visual spectacle, the Wii stripped the gaming experience down to basics. Every console generation to this point seemed to slap more buttons and analog sticks onto an increasingly convoluted controller. The idea of actually playing a game was lost amid the complexity. Speaking of complex, Sony's PlayStation 3 was suffering for the reasons its predecessor had excelled. The system didn't just play games and DVDs, it included an expensive built-in Blu-ray player and online connectivity. Its beefy hardware specs were powerful and impressive, but resulted in sticker shock, costing $499 for the most basic model. The Wii was puny by comparison, but with an equally puny price of $249 to match, not to mention always-on Wi-Fi capability of its own. The Wii also boasted backwards compatibility with the GameCube's library, as well as a robust online store full of classic titles from its earlier systems, not to mention plenty of games from the Sega Genesis and NEC's TurboGrafx-16. Though its online gaming options weren't nearly as sophisticated as those found in the PS3 and the Xbox 360, the Wii offered enough bells and whistles for the casual gamers just looking to have fun. By the time the Wii and the PS3 launched in November 2006, people had received Nintendo's message loud and clear. The Wii sold out immediately and became that year's hottest holiday gift. For months after its release, the Wii was difficult to find all around the world, despite the company manufacturing 1.6 million units a month throughout 2007. By 2008, Nintendo began manufacturing 2.4 million units a month in an effort to keep up with how quickly the system was selling out worldwide. Nintendo was simply unable to meet the overwhelming demand that had emerged for the console, which was finding its place in living rooms and senior rec centers all around the country. The Wii was being touted by the media as a new way to stay active and healthy, somewhat dubious claims Nintendo never promised, but never dispelled either. By September 2007, not even a year after its release, the Wii overtook the Xbox 360 in worldwide sales, boasting 9 million units sold to Microsoft's 8.9 million. Meanwhile, the PS3 lived up to its name, taking third place with 3.7 million units sold. The Wii had quickly turned Nintendo's fortunes around, transforming what was once perceived as Nintendo's weakness, an emphasis on family fun, into its strength. Anyone could pick up a Wii remote and figure out how to play. The concept was best illustrated in the Wii's pack-in title, Wii Sports, which featured 5 different motion-controlled, sports-inspired minigames, ranging from bowling to boxing to baseball. To swing the bat, all you had to do was swing the remote. To return a serve in tennis, just do your best Serena Williams impression. These were video games people could understand intuitively, no complicated instructions required. Wii Sports was so successful that it broke the record for highest-selling video game of all time, a title previously held by Super Mario Bros. For 18 years. To date, Wii Sports has sold nearly 80 million copies. But while the Wii was undoubtedly a hit with a newly emerging class of casual gamer, many hardcore gamers were placated with another launch title, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Finally, Nintendo made good on its long unfulfilled promise of a more mature Zelda. It also featured motion controls for attacks. The innovative controls were a hit, and Twilight Princess sold 5.8 million copies by 2011, earning several Game of the Year awards. Was Nintendo just for kids and moms? Hardly. Mario took his time showing up on the Wii, finally appearing in Super Mario Galaxy a year after the system's launch. But it was worth the wait. Galaxy was an instant smash. Like Super Mario 64 had done before it, Galaxy brought a new and exciting gameplay mechanic to the franchise. The action was set in space on small, interconnected planets, each with their own gravitational pulls. And best of all, there wasn't a water hose in sight. Super Mario Galaxy sold over 10 million copies by March 2012 and earned several Game of the Year awards in 2007. But as popular as the Wii had become with gamers and old folks alike, developers weren't all quite as enamored. As the system matured, it became clearer that only Nintendo fully understood the secret recipe that made the Wii so appealing. Many third-party games couldn't figure out how to successfully utilize the console's motion controls. Other games didn't even bother, and the Wii was plagued with endless shovelware and half-baked, underpowered ports of other titles. One developer working at EA famously announced at the Game Developers Conference in 2007 that the Wii was nothing more than, quote, 2 GameCubes stuck together with duct tape. But no matter how upset developers might have been, the numbers didn't lie. By September 2012, the Wii had sold 97.18 million units, while the PS3 and Xbox 360 were neck and neck with roughly 70 million units sold for each. The system was a hit, and Nintendo was back on top. The Wii never could stand up to the horsepower of the Xbox 360 and PS3, but neither competitor could boast the Wii's intuitive and unique motion controls, though they tried. In 2010, both Sony and Microsoft launched their own takes on the Wii's motion-based gaming, the PlayStation Move and the Xbox Kinect. Once again, Nintendo had transformed the industry, and its rivals were scrambling to keep up. Nintendo was king of the hill once more. After 5 years of enjoying its reclaimed market dominance, the company planned to wow the world again with its latest device, a giant leap in handheld gaming technology over its wildly successful DS console. What could go wrong? In a word, everything. Tune in next time for Nintendo to start seeing red.
It's that time of year again. Join us for the 2012's Inside Gaming Awards on December 8th. It all goes down at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time only on MachinimaLive.com. And don't forget to cast your vote for this year's Gamer's Choice Award.